Hear ye, all reside. You are now in the presence of greatness. This is our podcast, Home Court. Sam
we finally
Schowalter.
landed on a name.
Yeah, we did land on a name. I love it. Sam Schowalter, kind of Luke. Was a busy Friday for Woj. Getting Woj bombs all day. It was fun. We were on the text in the group chat, just going off. Did you see? Oh, what? Oh, it was fun.
Just craziness.
So, yeah, I want to start with talking a little bit about why teams move certain players at the deadline, what it means for organizations, why it's such a concentrated environment of players going from A to B and B to C. Sam, what are your, we just talked about this really quickly. Why do you think teams move so much at the deadline?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of contenders, or semi-contenders I like to call them, that are seeing teams like Brooklyn make major moves. Or the Lakers. The Lakers are a really tough team to beat when healthy. So teams like the Sixers, the Bucks, the Celtics, kind of the Celtics, but teams like those, They feel like this is their window, and if they don't make important moves now, they might have no chance to contend legitimately with the Nets, because the Nets picked up LaMarcus Aldridge, and Blake Griffin, he's dunking again. Come on. Did you see him? You seen him catch that lob?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Like his first dunk, I was like, okay, whatever. That's nothing. He barely got his hands above the rim.
He barely got above the rim. I saw that too.
His second dunk, he was floating. He got a oop and he was floating, and it was against the Pistons, of course. And he said, "I still got it." And I was like, come on, Blake. Come on. You get all this money from Detroit, and then you still yell in our faces and show us what we're missing. Unbelievable. But like I said, teams like the Sixers, teams like the Bucks, teams like the Celtics, the Blazers, they need to make moves, or else they're going to have no chance to legitimately contend. And I think a lot of teams made great moves. And I think the teams that decided we're not going to contend, so let's sell house, I think they made the right decisions too. I think in general, in terms of a trading window, it was some of the most mutually beneficial trades I've seen in a long time. And it was super active. I
want to talk a little bit about why teams move at the deadline specifically. At the start of the year, there's teams like Toronto who feel like they have a good core of players that can make a run or make a push, and maybe someone really steps up and has a great year. And then they get into the season, they're more or less below expectations, or maybe their expectations are very high to begin with.
Way below.
And then you have a guy like Kyle Lowry, whose contract expires at the end of the year. They're still on the roster, and they're still able to be moved. So GM can go and take Kyle Lowry, ship him off to somewhere else, get rid of that contract for the rest of the season, not have the option to re-sign him next year and get draft capital or a younger player in return. Kyle Lowry specifically, I was frustrated that he didn't move, just because it doesn't make sense for Masai Ujiri to not move him. He's not going to come back.
Why did that blow up, you think? Why did it not happen? Was it his salary?
I think part of it was the DeMar DeRozan deal really affected that organization as a whole, just because they've been a core for so long. And DeMar moving kind of sent shockwaves through all of them. And so Masai didn't want to disrupt that again, because they do have a good core. I like Pascal and I like Fred VanVleet, but I don't know. I just think it makes more sense beneficially long-term to move Kyle, get a piece. It's 6 months. And then life goes on. But
it's a good core, you're right. But what are they, 18 and 27? I mean, this is ridiculous. They're just not really hustling like the Raptors are known for.
Yeah, I don't know. Nick Nurse is interesting. He got it done with Leonard, and I don't know. I don't think he's a great regular season coach, but he coached really well in the playoffs. So
I think
let's get into some of the moves that were made, Sam.
Yeah, I'm super excited to break these down.
Yeah, the first one was Philly, OKC, and Knicks. They had a 3-team deal. George Hill and Iggy Brazdeikis, who was a Michigan boy, U of M, went to Philly. Oklahoma City got Tony Bradley, a couple of second-round picks from Philly and Austin Rivers, who got cut. And then the Knicks got Terrence Ferguson, Vincent Poirier, and a 2021 second-round pick. What do you think? What do you think there?
I think this doesn't send shockwaves, but George Hill was an answer to not landing Kyle Lowry, it seems like.
Yeah.
They wanted Kyle Lowry, but it made a lot more sense for them to pick up basically a free George Hill. And he definitely solidifies a backcourt. He's a veteran that whenever he joins a team, he makes them better. And he definitely plays better on good teams. So I think this will help his year because he's had kind of a slow year. But I think Philadelphia really, I think they didn't want to shake things up too much because of all their success they've been having. And I think George Hill is he's a compliment, and he's not making them the Nets, but if the Sixers truly believe in themselves, then they didn't want to shake it up too much. They think they have a chance to contend without another big piece.
George Hill has been a piece that a lot of teams have tried to go get to make themselves, a push in their secondary. Milwaukee did it a few years ago.
Yep.
He's a good playoff performer, and he has one or two with LeBron. No, just one in Cleveland.
I think just one, maybe none. I don't want to say that with certainty, but
pretty sure he was on that team.
He was on the team the year after, I think. I'm not sure. That's why we need Nick here.
Yeah, Nick, where are you, dude? We have no Nick today. He's not in studio. It's a little early for him.
Yeah. All right. You want to move on to the next one? Because I feel like that Philadelphia trade just doesn't, like I said, doesn't send shockwaves throughout the league like some of these other trades.
I actually think Iggy gets some minutes here, especially when they get banged up, just because he'll pull up and shoot. But
and that's an underrated factor in picking up these players is late in the regular season, you're banged up, but you still want to have that high seed. So some of these players have to be legitimate, even though they're not superstars, and they have to help you win games down the stretch.
Yeah.
But let's move on to the Portland-Toronto trade, which I thought was interesting. I am surprised. I'm surprised Portland made this trade. I'm surprised both ways because I think Norman Powell and Gary Trent are very similar players. Norman Powell being more efficient at this point. But who do you think this helps more, Connor?
It doesn't seem like a huge step forward for either team or even any step forward. After we talked about it a little bit, my thoughts went more towards maybe this is like a locker room thing where
Possibly,
it's a very similar player that's moving, maybe two guys were friends. I don't know how it works, but it doesn't seem like there's going to be much benefit stat-wise in the games. But maybe Norman Powell is pushing guys in Toronto, and Portland needs that in the locker room. I don't know.
Yeah. For a comparison, Norman Powell this year on the Raptors has averaged 19.6. So he's a 20-a-game guy, which isn't as impressive as it once was. But he's shooting 50% from the field and 44% from three. And that's going to help any team with those numbers. Who knows if those efficiency numbers will stay up. But Gary Trent has averaged 15 on 40% from three and 42% from the field. He shoots almost all threes. He stands on the perimeter and catches and shoots. But he's got more to his game, I think. I
was looking at this earlier. It's so crazy how many guys can average 20 in today's league compared to the 90s or the 80s. Guys were not averaging 20, and if you were averaging 20 in the 80s or 90s, you were getting paid big bucks. And nowadays, anyone can average 20.
Even in recent history, the only guy who's averaged 20 points a game his entire career, or there's two guys, and it's LeBron James and Kevin Durant, the only active players to have averaged 20-plus points per game their entire careers. But now, I think that's going to change. I think there's going to be a lot of those guys. Donovan Mitchell started his career averaging 20-plus points in every single game, so he's another one of those active players. But
is that year-to-year or career PPG?
It's year-to-year. Every year averaging over 20, which I think is more impressive than, averaging 20 throughout your career. Because one 30-point per game year, like Bradley Beal, can really change your career numbers. But yeah, Norman Powell, 20-point a game guy, but that doesn't mean he's going to completely come in and change the Blazers. I think they get marginally better. They've been playing well, though.
Yeah.
So marginally
Sam,
better could it be enough? Connor, I know you're high on Dame. Could it be enough?
No, it's
They're
not
healthy.
enough. The West is too strong. Sam, did the Clippers getting Rondo terrify you?
No. I don't know. The Clippers, there's something about them. It's like there's a dark cloud over them. I feel like they're just not in the picture. Do you ever feel that way?
Yeah, 100%.
Like, they look, on paper, they're great. And they got Kawhi. Kawhi has won, 3 championships now?
Yeah.
Paul George, when he's himself, he is an MVP candidate.
All around,
Just an
both sides of the
unbelievable
ball.
player. Yeah. They have Serge Ibaka, who really helped Toronto win that title. I mean, their team on paper's legit. Lou Williams was only dragging them down. I think they're more benefited from Lou Williams leaving than Rajon Rondo joining. Because Lou Williams, I mean, he's a liability on defense. He wasn't shooting efficiently. And this is something I heard on another podcast, but he's been quietly the worst playoff player in the past 12 years. Like, we haven't
That
really
surprises
been
me
noticing.
just because his, storied career of
I
being a
know,
clutch
and his whole
shooter
vibe
and
is
all
kind
that.
of, like he'll take those big shots, but efficiency-wise throughout the playoffs in these past 10, 12 years, he's been abysmal, and he's a liability. And you know who's not a liability in the playoffs, and that's playoff Rondo. I mean, he always
Rondo,
shows
man.
how good he is every time he gets into the playoffs.
Yeah, Lou posted on Instagram a big long thing about how he was going to retire once he saw this trade and how he was offended by the Clippers and all that stuff. But I think he'll go and be fine in Atlanta and probably retire maybe at the end of the year next year.
Yeah, I don't want to take away from Lou because I love the way he plays, and I think he's a fantastic player. But down the stretch, he hasn't been near what he can be. And I mean, he's a great off the bench scoring option. He's not helping the Clippers win a title at this point in his career.
Pellies. Dallas got JJ and Nicoli Melli.
Oh yeah.
New Orleans got James Johnson, Weston Dawu in the second rounder. So this was just a big deal for Dallas to get JJ.
I think so too. I thought when I saw that, I was super ecstatic. I was elated because I love the Mavericks, and I think they just need shooters around Luka. And a lot of people have been mentioning that JJ Redick's career has kind of shown decline in the recent years, but that could completely change when he's got a guy like Luka handling the ball. It makes his life so much easier. He's going to get so many more open threes, and when he's open, he's going to score. JJ Redick, he's still got it. He's getting up there in age, but he's going to help this Mavs team.
Looking at the price of some of these guys, I'm slightly upset that other teams didn't go and get them. JJ could have helped a lot of teams. Philly, he would have been great on. Milwaukee, he would have been great on. I mean, there's just a lot of teams that JJ would have helped. And
Yeah, Philly,
we're on the
though,
same page that Mavs are not contenders, right?
They're a half contender. They have Luka, so they have one of the best players in the world. And when Kristaps Porzingis is playing well, he's also super scary. There was a game I saw last week where Luka, this is a collector's item, but Luka went for 15 and 5, and Kristaps carried them to a win. I couldn't believe my eyes. I never thought I would see Kristaps being the guy winning a game for Dallas.
Yeah.
But he can. So when he's good, he is scary on the offensive end. And when it comes to the Sixers not picking up a guy like JJ, I think that's because, they got Seth Curry, Danny Green. Freaking Korkmaz is legit. He makes all those open shots. He's just not talked about a lot. But they do have a lot of 3-and-D guys, or just 3 guys, because Seth Curry is not a brilliant defender by any means. But I do think Dallas is a good landing spot for him, and I think it's going to make his life easy having Luka handle the ball and get it to him. Did you see that?
Agreed.
Did you see that Luka pass where he went for a fadeaway mid-range jump shot, and then as he was going up, he hits it back like a volleyball with his hand to the guy behind him. Unbelievable.
Yeah, Luka's
He's
got
so
vision.
fun to watch. So fun to watch. He's not. Yeah, go ahead.
He definitely plays the one. Like, we've argued about this when all-time drafts and stuff like that we've done just on the phone, but he definitely plays the one. Rockets Heat. Miami got Victor Oladipo. Houston got Avery Bradley, Kelly Olynyk in a draft swap. Avery and Kelly were both cut. What are your thoughts?
Man, Miami didn't have to give up any of their young pieces, which is crazy. Miami has a way of working things out. Pat Riley.
Yeah.
I mean, they had no business getting a piece like Victor Oladipo and not having to give up Duncan or Tyler Hero. I'm shocked that they were able to make this happen. But what Victor Oladipo are we going to see? Are we going to see that stretch in Indiana where he was an all-star? Or are we going to see that inefficient 40% from the field shooter that we've seen of late? I do think in general, him being there makes Miami better. I do want to say that. Houston's going nowhere, but Miami looks a little bit more strong. And Victor Oladipo can be a lockdown defender on the perimeter too. Yeah,
when he's healthy, but he's not healthy right now. We know that.
Exactly. So like I said, it's going to depend what Victor Oladipo we get. But the upside is good, and they didn't have to give up a lot. So even if he's not great, Miami doesn't get worse, in my opinion. Kelly Olynyk is an underrated player, though.
Yeah, he is. I like Kelly.
Yeah, he has those nights where he just shoots 5 for 5 from 3 and ruins you.
Yeah, you want to take this one, Sam? Because I know you're a big Daniel Tice guy.
A big Daniel Tice guy? What does that even mean? All right, there's a 3-team deal between Wizards, Celtics, and Bulls. Wizards got Daniel Gafford and Chandler Hutchinson. Is it Chandler?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Celtics get Luke Cornett, Mo Wagner, and Bulls get Daniel Tice. What's Jay Green? Is it Jeff or Jamichael?
It's Jamichael, right?
It's Jim. Yeah, because Jeff is on Brooklyn. Troy Brown Jr. and $1.3 million for Boston, $250K from Washington. Okay, so this trade is, again, it's not huge names floating around. Daniel Tice probably being the most notable guy, which is, it's saying something. But I don't know why the Celtics got rid of him. I thought, get rid of him if you're going to get something useful. I don't think Mo Wagner is going to end up even playing that many minutes. This shows
I think he's going to have to. They don't have a lot of big options.
I know, but okay, so this is them transitioning into the Robert Williams era. They're going to buy into him. They're going to see if having that anchor on the defensive end, a shot blocker, helps this team take it to the next level. And they've been on a good stretch right now. But I don't know why they got rid of Daniel Tice and didn't get another big man to replace him, because I don't think Mo Wagner does that.
And the Bulls just won out in this deal. I mean, they didn't really move much. Hutchinson was the second best piece, I think, in this deal.
They just had to pick up Daniel Tice's contract, I guess. So
yeah,
and which is
fine because they're not paying anyone but Levine.
That's true. The Bulls, I know they kind of took a risk on taking Vucevic, but I like what they've been doing. I like a team that is trying to win now and that buys into their players. But we could see in 3 years that it just blows up.
Let's get into this because finally, we've talked about this. Finally. Orlando blew the ship up. Everyone's gone. Vucci's gone. Fournier is gone. Yeah, everyone's gone. AG is gone. It's like,
wow.
Yeah, that was crazy for me. Just to see him, and it was almost like back to back to back.
I know. I was looking at my phone every time I refreshed. It was like, what? This is, and I think every team that they sent players to got legitimately better, significantly.
And Woj was like holding on to him so he could release him, and just to flex a little bit.
Gosh, Woj is so amazing.
So yeah, Vucci and Al Farku Aminu went to Chicago for Wendell Carter and 2 future firsts. And then Evan Fournier went to the Celtics for Jeff Teague and 2 seconds, and Aaron Gordon went to the Nuggets for Gary Harris, RJ Hampton, and a 2025 first-round pick. So I wanted to also break it down a little bit this way. So they moved off of Vucevic, Fournier, and Aaron Gordon. And in return, they got Wendell Carter, Jeff Teague, who got waived, Gary Harris, RJ Hampton, and then 3 firsts and 2 seconds. So 5 picks and I think maybe 2 serviceable players out of that. Wendell Carter and Gary Harris are serviceable. They're not much, but...
Their picks have the potential to be pretty good in a few years, but... The Bulls aren't going to get a great pick this year, and that's one of their firsts, correct? The Magic's firsts?
Yep.
And then their other first is in 2023. So those picks, in 2023, who knows? The Bulls could just have a horrible time of it and end up selling off, and that pick could be great. But this year, the pick's not going to be great. This is just them... I mean, you're right. This is them blowing the ship up. They're like, with all these pieces, we're still 13th in the East, and they were going nowhere. So let's just restart. Let's get picks. Let's go young. And the GM's buying time. I like this for Orlando.
It's got to be hard to build a solid team in Orlando with Miami so close and Atlanta close and just it's not the New Orleans too. It's not the destination in the South that some of these other places are.
Yeah, you need a big draft pick to take you to the promised land sometimes.
Yeah,
a little less so than the Detroits of the world and the Minnesotas.
Sure. But they had a great roster. I like all these players individually. I really do.
Me too. I was thinking the same thing. Vucevic, he was an all-star. I think he makes the Bulls significantly better. Right off the bat, 10% better.
Aaron Gordon was kind of like a box seat, like ticket filler, I feel like, just because they loved watching him play. And Fournier is a sneaky good ISO scorer.
Here's my take. Fournier is the best out of this bunch. I think the Celtics got a great player, and he's going to be recognized as I guess great is thrown around too often, but he's a really solid player. He'll make every open 3. And sometimes a piece like that is all one of these fringe teams needs to really take it to the next level, to open up the floor for Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. And he gets to the free throw line.
Why wouldn't the Lakers or even Miami or any of these teams that tried to make moves gotten Fournier? Like they gave up nothing to get him. 2 seconds in Jeff Teague.
I don't understand that at all. The Lakers could have used him. The Lakers could use shooting. Yeah.
Milwaukee could have killed for him.
That's what I was saying a few weeks ago. Milwaukee needed him.
Yeah.
Evan Fournier is a piece that can help so many teams right now. And props to the Celtics for picking him up for almost nothing.
For free.
Absolutely free. He's a little lackluster on the defensive end, but I think people just assume that because the past few games I've watched of him, he doesn't seem to be a liability at all. I think he's sneakily athletic, and if he wants to, he can be a decent perimeter defender. He's not... I don't know what people are talking about when they say he can't defend. And even if he is a little lackluster, he makes up for it on the offensive end. Yeah. He's dangerous, and he can get points off the dribble. He's a spot-up shooter. He gets to the free throw line, which the Celtics don't.
When you're a bad team in the NBA, it's hard to buy in defensively as a team, like system defense. And Fournier can absolutely fit into a good system D. And Boston has a...
Yeah, especially a team full of perimeter defenders.
Yeah. So who got better? Did any of these middling playoff teams that we talked about go to a serious contender? And I also wanted to ask who this hurts. So who was affected down the chain by some of the moves made in Chicago and Boston, etc.?
Boston definitely gets better because they didn't give up anything. Although they gave up Daniel Tice for Mo Wagner, but in general, Boston gets better because Evan Fournier, like I said, is an asset that opens up the floor for their other guys. The Nuggets, I also think get better because Aaron Gordon, say what you will, but with a guy like Jokic having the ball in the center of the floor and him cutting, And like, I mean, he's gonna be dunking more than he has been in his whole career. He's a decent 3-point shooter who will have more open looks. He just had to
I want to say this real quick. Vucci was a sneaky good passer too.
Oh yeah. You're 100% on that. He is a good passer, but he's no Jokic.
Yeah, no.
And Jokic is gonna make Aaron Gordon a better player, and Aaron Gordon took up too much of the burden. The fan base in Orlando, the management, I think they wanted him to be something he wasn't.
Yeah.
Which is a superstar, because he had those stretches. Do you remember those months?
Absolutely.
That he went off, started shooting 50% from three, and we were like, "Oh, is Aaron Gordon that guy? He's got the athleticism. Yeah. He's got the fan base. He's got the star power from the dunk contest." Yeah. But then it fizzled out, and I think him being in a place where he doesn't need to be that guy is gonna do wonders for him. Denver's a perfect landing place for him, and he wanted out, and yeah, I think he's gonna be very happy. He's only been averaging 15 points per game this year. He's played 25 games, but yeah, his 3-point numbers are higher than they have been, and playing in that team is going to be really beneficial for him. So I think the Nuggets get slightly better, and I think they were already near good enough to. I mean, what? They were in the conference finals last year. Yeah. Like, so they're already. We have to give them some respect. They are a contender. They're one of the contenders in the West. And with Aaron Gordon, I think it makes them slightly better. And if Jokic keeps playing the way he does, they're a hard out for anyone. Yeah. Celtics, we'll just have to wait and see about the Celtics, because even though they're slightly better, where were they like a few weeks ago? I mean, they seem nowhere near contending.
I didn't really quite understand, like we talked about, the Portland-Toronto move. I don't really care about that. I think the Clippers got better adding Rondo for sure. I think Dallas got slightly better. I'm waiting to see on the Miami deal. I don't know about Victor Oladipo right now, but Chicago certainly got better. So, and then there was a ton of talk about Lonzo being moved and Kyle Lowry, as well as they were also talking about Zach LaVine for a month there, moving off him. But none of them ended up being made. Why? We talked about this a little bit, but why did Lonzo get held on to? Why did Kyle get held on to, in your opinion?
This is an interesting thing, because Lonzo Ball has made tremendous strides in his game, even since the beginning of him being put on the trading block. He's shooting better than he ever has, and we all know what he can do on the defensive end. But maybe the Pelicans looked at him and were like, this is a guy that we want to be part of our team dynamic going forward. Yeah, I like that. And I can see that, because I've always been a Lonzo fan. Big baller ran for life.
BBB, baby.
Yeah, for sure. I have a sweatshirt. I won't lie. Lonzo Ball, though, he's playing great. 40% from three. Like I said, we know what he can do on the defensive end. I think he fits in that Pelicans team as well as he's going to fit anywhere. Do you think there was a landing spot for him that would have been good for him and good for the landing spot, good for the team that picks him up?
When I think of like someone that really needs a point guard of his stature that doesn't need the ball a lot and can get guys into position to score, Milwaukee always comes to mind. Just because I think they're a super, super good point guard away, which Lonzo isn't, but they're a really good point guard away from dominating the East alongside of Brooklyn.
Yeah, they're so close. What is it? They're so close. Drew Holiday, if he plays really well, they're going to be scary. I think they already are scary.
If Drew turns into like Jamal Murray, playoff Jamal Murray, they're going to make some waves. They could beat the Nets.
I think so too. I don't think the East is as locked up as people say.
It's pretty locked up now.
The Nets because of LaMarcus? Should we talk about that?
Harden, KD, LA, Blake, final 5 minutes of the fourth. That's scary.
Is Blake in there the final 5 minutes?
DeAndre Jordan.
Yeah, but DeAndre Jordan, we all know his shortcomings. Do you think that's the lineup in the final 5 minutes? I don't think so.
I think it depends on the matchup. If they're playing small ball against Portland or...
Here's a question I have. What's the use of LaMarcus Aldridge when he's not trying to get a bucket back and someone down? he's a good offensive talent, but why have him on the court with all those guys?
Spacing. He can shoot from all the way. He can shoot
That's
from
true.
three.
He can shoot threes.
From. It just gives more room for Kyrie to get to the bucket and Harden to get to the bucket.
You think LaMarcus is going to be cool with that? Just standing somewhere, open up
the guy
space.
wants a chip. The guy wants another chip.
Okay, yeah, I agree. I think. I mean, Blake wants a championship. It seems like all these guys that are joining the Nets now are like, oh, here's my ring.
You know what? Kind of feels like the Kobe and Shaq Lakers when they got Karl Malone and Gary Payton.
I saw a picture about that.
That ended well for them.
Yeah, I don't know.
That ended very well for them, getting smacked by my Detroit Pistons.
Yeah, I don't know. It does seem like that. Blake Griffin, I mean, yeah, he's been dunking again, but is he that guy? No, he doesn't help them. Like I said, if anything, him having the ball in his hands takes away from better offensive weapons. He's not very quick laterally anymore, so the defensive end, he's not great. But yeah, he is catching lobs now, so
yeah,
it shows what a good team can do.
The buyout market is kind of a big deal. Before we get into it, I wanted to ask, like, a guy like Drummond, who is in Cleveland or someone else in a bigger city or smaller city on the East Coast, and then they move to the West Coast on the buyout market, so they only have like a year or so on contract. Are they buying a house, or are they just going condo life? Because I just moved into an apartment, and it's a big deal moving to a new city. Driving is different. The streets are, everything's laid out differently. You don't know where anything is. It's expensive.
Dude, I think about this all the time.
Are they buying or renting?
It's so funny.
I
think about this all the time. I think about guys that are just team to team to team. Like, do they sometimes just get in a hotel and be like, I'm out of here in 2 weeks? Or like, what? Because you're right. This is a big move. And how do you feel like you're at home? And that has to affect your play, right?
Yeah.
Like, say Drummond moves out to L.A., and he's like, I might only be here.
You're traveling so much. Nowhere can really feel like home in this season.
I guess, but there is something to having a home base where you can get there and just relax and be like comfortable. I mean, there's something to be said about that. And I think some of these guys moving around to too many teams, like, it might be hard for them. I know, like, these guys have feelings. These guys they're real people, They go through these mental struggles that everyone does, and sometimes they're moving across the country on a whim, or not on a whim, but like they might be out of there in 6 months. And what's next? I don't know. That is a really good question.
Do NBA players go grocery shopping for themselves?
LeBron doesn't.
No, okay. But does Evan Fournier go to the grocery store and just...
Evan Fournier, okay, he's kind of on the edge. What's the level? Like,
what is Lou Williams in the grocery store?
Lou Williams is a man of the people. I could see him going to get his groceries.
Does Greg Popovich go to the grocery store?
Greg Popovich, he's an icon.
All right, what about like a retired, like does Sheed Wallace go to the grocery store?
I'm gonna say yes. I mean, he doesn't have a ton of money coming in, does he?
No.
I mean,
he's coaching a high school team somewhere right now.
I'm sure he's doing great, but
I'm gonna keep this rolling for a sec. Okay, so I don't know, because I'm just confused. Are there you're in LA? Are there stores for celebrities to go to where just normal peasants can't come in? Do you have to flash?
There's Erewhon, which is where people want to be celebrities. Erewhon is the most expensive grocery store I've ever stepped inside. I had to go. It's like a tourist attraction almost. I went there and I needed to get some cashews, and I didn't look at the price tag. This is no joke, Connor. The cashews, 16-ounce bag, $35. I was like, and Seneca, my girlfriend, was like, we can ask to return them. I was like, babe, no, this is Erewhon. We can't do this. This is embarrassing. That's the last time I'm ever going to get anything there. But it's basically Whole Foods times 5,
Were they just gold-plated, delicious cashews?
Dude, I mean, we used them a lot. So if you break down every usage, whatever, $35, who cares? Like, we used them grind them down, make some Indian food, some creamy cashew. Yeah, they were good, but they were unsalted. I mean, it's not like they were really for snacking.
Not even salted, man.
Not even salted. $35.
That's insane. So I'm going to the grocery store. I went yesterday. I spent 2 hours.
2 hours to make a list.
I'm bad at grocery shopping. I get home, I unload everything, and I make a nice I made steak and potatoes, some beans. Ooh, delicious. Got a big green egg grill, and just crushing it. Right? Yeah.
Wow.
And I woke up this morning. It was my first night staying here. Woke up this morning. I've got nothing for breakfast. 0 things. Not one thing.
So you spent 2 hours and didn't pick up eggs.
I have what is your breakfast essentials? I need like a go-to breakfast essential.
Well, if I could choose, I would go to a bagel shop every morning, get a bagel, cream cheese, coffee. Like that's my shit. Yeah. But if I'm at home and you're talking about fuel, you got to get the eggs. Eggs are fuel. Maybe some sausage patties. I'm a sausage patties over links. I'm probably sausage patties over bacon.
Sausage patties are good.
I love them, especially when they have that little maple.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'd say essentials at home are a little more hearty. Maybe some hash browns, some toast. But
if I'm talking easy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Hearty is a lot of times quick and easy. You throw shit into a pan, it cooks. And you're fueled for the next 5 hours. But if I'm going to pick up stuff, it's either bagel cream cheese or a breakfast burrito. Love breakfast burritos.
Oh, breakfast burritos, crush it.
Yeah, there's one down the street that I just had that was fantastic. One of my favorite ever. Go ahead.
Yeah. Man, the food in LA sounds good, but we've got good food here. I woke up and went to a French bakery, Alon's, and had a croissant, and it was
Stop.
it was insane.
Drop my croissant. You remember that?
So good. No.
It's a vine. Come on. Don't leave me out hanging.
You remember that.
Do you have a wing spot in Atlanta yet?
I don't know. Probably. I don't know. Doesn't 2 Chainz own those?
No, I'm not saying wing spot. I'm saying, do you have a spot for wings that you like?
Do I have a wing spot? Yeah, I
do. Of course there's a wing spot, dude. And it's, who is it? Rick Ross.
Yeah, Rick Ross.
He owns at least 50. That was like 2 years ago. You want to get back to basketball?
No, not yet, because I want to tell you about my wing spot. It's this place. It's called Hobnob. It's really good. But my friend, we were out having some drinks one night, and he got hungry, and he couldn't remember what he called it, or what it's called. So he called it the Nub Hub.
Nub Hub.
Now it's just, you want to go Nub Hub instead of Hobnob? It's just,
What's your sauce of choice before we get back to basketball?
I like habanero. I like spicy.
Oh,
I'm a big spicy guy.
I'm all into the spicy too, but I know Atlanta's got the lemon pepper culture. That's pretty.
Yeah, lemon pepper wings down here. Some of the authentic places.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to try when I come into Atlanta.
Yeah,
that's my first stop. All right, let's talk about the buyout market.
Yeah.
Here's just, I'm gonna list some names, and some of them we already know their destination now. So Drummond intends to sign with the Lakers, and I want to talk about that, but I'll give it a second. Marcus Aldridge signed with the Nets. Otto Porter Jr., Hassan Whiteside, Darius Miller, James Ennis, Rodney Hood, James Johnson, Kelly Olynyk, Avery Bradley, Mo Harkless, Austin Rivers. It looks like Austin Rivers is going to Milwaukee. Gorgie Jang and Jeff Teague. Out of those teams, or out of those players, Connor, who is a GM looking at and being like, this guy can help us contend?
Yeah, I think Otto Porter, possibility just to be a wing defender. Hassan Whiteside.
Mm-hmm. What happened to Otto Porter, by the way? Otto Porter was really good on the Wizards. Really good on the Wizards.
Yeah, he was. I think some of it goes into situation and fit.
Absolutely, yeah.
I wanted to talk about real quick, for those that don't know, a buyout occurs when a player and team mutually decide to part ways. So they'll surrender an agreed upon amount of their guaranteed salary, and in exchange they're released and allowed to sign with any other team as a free agent. If they get bought out, they can't re-sign with that team or be claimed off of waivers by that team for 1 year or until the end of the contract that was bought out for. And it's usually players in the last year of their contract that want to get out early and sign with a contender for a playoff push. There are unique cases like Blake, who has multi-years left, and they bought him out, and they just paid a ton of money up front. Mm-hmm. And I can't imagine Blake was cool with taking much off. So,
yeah, I can't imagine either.
Yeah,
but yeah, thanks
again,
for.
Yeah, I think Whiteside is also a sneaky good post defender.
There was a time when we thought Whiteside was like one of the most important centers in the league, and then he kind of fell off a little bit. But
yeah,
Whiteside's legit.
I don't think he needs a lot of minutes. I think he just provides valuable minutes when he gets them.
Yeah, he's got to be on a team where the second unit maybe doesn't have a defensive presence. The second unit needs to like have a shot blocker. That's what they're looking for, or what I'd be looking for as a GM. It's like how's my second unit functioning, and do we need a guy to rebound? Because that can be a problem. A lot of second units are loaded with quick scorers, microwaves off the bench, as they say. But defense isn't usually a huge factor in that second unit, or at least when it's talked about. Do you think Avery Bradley has a chance to be a big piece on a team? Because he's been absent, to say the least. Has he played at all for Miami this year?
Yeah, he's played a little, but I think Avery Bradley's time to make impact is kind of behind him. I think some of these teams, I think they do hold grudges against the guys that didn't stick around in the bubble. I know Doc was really frustrated with some of his Clippers for not coming around in the bubble. And I mean, you're getting paid stupid amounts of money. And so it's just, there's times where you got to make a couple sacrifices, just like you talked about.
Yeah, everyone's making sacrifices. Everyone in the world is making sacrifices, not just in the NBA.
Yep. And Avery has the ability to make an impact defensively as well as shooting and spacing. He's actually very good in transition. So I don't know.
Avery Bradley is a great player, but when you don't join your team going to the bubble, it definitely, GMs might look at that and be like, is he going to be a guy that plays for this team, like that is really playing to win and playing for the team?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like him as a player. I do hope he comes back and has an impact, but like I said, he's been pretty absent. All right, let's close it out talking about my Lakers. I don't want to say my Lakers. That sounds bad because I'm a Pistons fan, but I live in LA. So I see through the eyes of an LA fan these days because the Pistons are irrelevant.
I understand that because the Pistons are irrelevant, and I'm starting to embrace the Hawks.
Yeah, right. It's fun.
A little bit.
Come on.
It is fun.
And I obviously it's easy for me out here because me and you, we've been LeBron fans our entire life. So it's pretty easy for me to buy into the Lakers.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm a fan of whatever team LeBron's on. But do you ever feel like you have to up front defend your fandom of the Pistons before you're allowed to like say that I do enjoy rooting for the Hawks or the Lakers?
For sure. I feel bad. I mean, look I'm wearing Detroit Tigers shirt right now. I am a proud Detroit sports fan. Yeah, I'm a proud Detroit sports fan. I grew up in Michigan, loving Detroit sports, and we had a better time of it back then. Yeah. We have been loyal fans. I've been a loyal ass fan. But when the Pistons are, I mean, they're bottom of the East, what's the point? I'm not going to torture myself, especially living out in Los Angeles and being a LeBron fan. I don't know, but it sounds sacrilegious because Detroit Lakers is just not the most friendly situation. The bad boys beat them twice, and then our 03-04 guys beat them. So, but people understand, especially these days, because nobody's talking about the Pistons, so it doesn't hurt any feelings. But let's talk about the Lakers.
Hey, your Lakers, they didn't make any of the big moves that we kind of hoped they would, the JJs or getting Lonzo back or Lowry. I know Lowry was talked about going to a few places, but I actually think the Lakers were one of the teams that were really trying to go get him. But they're front runners to sign Drummond, which should help. But dude, I'm concerned, and I wanted to hear what your thoughts are.
Okay,
I'm concerned. I'm very concerned.
I know it seems like the Lakers would be a team to make big moves in this trading window because they're a contender, and contenders usually make moves to strengthen their chances. But I think Lakers, when healthy, have enough. I think they are an unbelievable team. I mean, they have LeBron James and Anthony Davis. I mean, just that can be enough. Plus, in the playoffs, they're going to be the best defensive team in the league. No doubt about it in my mind. Dennis Schroeder's great, perimeter defender. KCP, complete lockdown maniac. I would hate to be guarded by KCP. Yeah. That dude. And I praise KCP all the time, but sometimes you need to praise those guys who are locking down the best guards in the NBA. And I want to get to my thoughts on Drummond, actually. I think there's a big if surrounding Drummond, because I think his role for Detroit and Cleveland is just astronomically different than it's going to be in Los Angeles. He was supposed to score. I mean, he was expected to score 16 to 20 points per game for those teams, and I think that changed the way he developed as a player. I think he paid too much attention to the offensive side of the ball and the little hook shot, and he even started shooting threes for Detroit, which was disastrous. I mean, he was hitting all backboard. He was clanking. But here's the deal. If Andre Drummond buys in defensively and then on the offensive end is okay with just getting oops and drop-offs and just dunking the ball and getting layups, he's going to help this Lakers team a ton. Yeah. Because he's 7'2" and agile. If he's ready to buy in defensively, he's going to be blocking a ton of shots. Can you imagine him next to Anthony Davis down the stretch? Nobody's going to go to the hoop. The team better be shooting lights out, or you're not going to beat this Lakers team.
I love that.
And we've seen in the past these great shooting teams. It doesn't necessarily translate in the playoffs because you have to be shooting great. And if you have a bad night, you just don't have a chance. The Lakers have a chance every single night because they are the best defensive team in basketball when healthy. There's so many when healthies about this team right now, but as long as they pick up these wins like last night against the Magic, like these must wins without LeBron and AD, they're gonna be okay. And AD's gonna be back in 2 weeks. LeBron's gonna be back in a month. LeBron could be back tomorrow, I'm sure of it, but why rush?
Yeah.
I like where the Lakers are. I'm still thinking the Lakers have a great chance to repeat.
Yeah. Good to hear. Glad you're in there like swimwear, bro.
Yep, I'm in there like swimwear, baby.
I got to get out of here. I got to get to work.
To the golf course.
Get to the course, teach some lessons, and yeah.
I need a lesson.
Yeah, you do. Come down. Yeah, you're supposed to be coming down here. I thought we had like a little
I know. I want to.
Thing.
I want to. Well, here's the deal. I want to play. I want to play basketball really bad because I've been neglected that for months now. So that might be enough to fly all the way across the country to Atlanta so we can play basketball.
We have a thing worked out. For those of you that don't know, when Sam comes down here, we have a match of basketball secured, a match of golf secured, and a match of tennis secured.
We shouldn't even play tennis. Let's just do basketball and golf. And I know you're like, tennis. Oh, I'm better, like, whatever. But come on. We have a 50-50 chance. Well, maybe not golf anymore.
No shot in golf. I'm destroying you.
Well, you don't know.
And you're destroying me in tennis.
You don't know. I could have one of those par days.
Yeah, well, that's fine. Then I'll go under par.
You've seen it. You've seen me play.
Yeah, I've seen you play. I'm not discrediting
So what you're doing, I know, I don't want to discredit you either because you've become a great golfer. But what you're saying is we play tennis because you got golf, I got tennis, and then basketball is the one. Of course, basketball's
the decided. But also, like, I still like enjoy playing tennis. I know you'll whoop me, but like it'll be fun.
Me too. I love playing tennis.
Like, I can get the ball back over to you and compete a little.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna win a freaking game or set.
Dude,
but
we were great. I mean, Centennial Country Club. They would have been nothing without us.
Yeah, we ran that joint. Let's be real. Hey, remember when I cannonballed I jumped. Well, no, you cannonballed into the pool. I just didn't know how to dive, so I just basically belly flopped.
Or what do you mean? Like what time? I feel like we
so
before.
One time, Sam and I we were at tennis practice at our country club when we were kids. And meanwhile, this was not the premier country club. This was it wasn't like we were country club boys. But anyways, the swimming team needed a couple people to just go in the race just to get a few points.
Oh, I see what you mean. Because I thought you were just talking about jumping in the pool, but you're talking about a swim meet.
I'm talking about the swim meet. So there was a swim meet at the club. We were at tennis practice. They were like, hey, guys, like we need you to come just swim for us real quick. Like you don't have to win. Don't even have to like try. Just be in the pool and get to the other side. We're like, okay. So Sam gets up there and straight Cannonballs. Doesn't
why
even
not?
attempt to dive. Cannonballs in and swims the other side.
I want to put on the
get up
record. I
there.
knew how to dive. Okay.
It was cold. Yes, he did know how to dive. He's actually a pretty good swimmer. It was cold. And I got up there and I was like all ready to go. I got my little stance, was like, all right, 3, 2, 1. And then I dove, but I didn't know how to dive. So I just had my arms up like this and straight belly flop into the pool. And I had to do backstroke or something like that. So I was like going between the lanes, like getting in other people's lanes.
Yeah, you didn't have a childhood if you didn't choke doing backstroke. And the pool's getting muddied up from like ice cream treats, dude. How did we get away with that kind of stuff?
Like
COVID happens and there's not going to be any germs ever again. Man, bags of goldfish
I do gotta get out of
getting
here,
soggy. Yeah, that was a really fun episode, Connor. I am thrilled. Well, this is ready. 3. Well, this is home court. You got to do it with me.
Home
this
court.
is no. Just wait. Ready? This is. All right, do it with me. Okay. This is home court podcast. Thanks for listening, guys.
One more time.
I'm done. All right.
This is home court podcast.
Thanks for listening.